the sleepy village of Willowbrook, where the mist clung to the ground like a shroud, kids knew better than to wander near the old pond after dark, because the lady who lived there didn't drown. She waited. Once upon a time, in a small village called Willowbrook, there lived two sisters named Lily and Rose. They were 10 years old, twins, with the same brown hair that fell to their shoulders and the same green eyes that sparkled when they laughed. Their house was a simple wooden place at the edge of the village, with a creaky porch and a garden full of wildflowers. Their parents worked long days in the fields, so the girls spent most of their time playing together, chasing butterflies or skipping stones by the river. Willowbrook was not a big place. It had one main street with a general store, a church with a tall steeple, and about 50 families who all knew each other. The houses were old, built from stone and wood that had weathered many rains. The air always smelled of damp earth and fresh bread from the bakery. But there was one spot no one liked to talk about, the old pond on the far side of the woods. It was a round body of water covered in green scum with willows hanging over it like sad fingers. Folks said it was cursed. Long ago, a woman named Widow Hargrove had thrown herself in after her baby died, but her body never came up. Since then, strange things happened there. Lights flickered on the water at night. Whispers came from the reeds. And sometimes, if you looked too long, you saw a face. Not yours, but hers. Lily and Rose had heard the stories from their grandma, who sat by the fire every evening knitting scarves. "Stay away from the pond," she'd say in her soft voice. "The hag lives there now. She takes what she lost." The girls would giggle and hug their knees, but deep down they felt a chill. Grandma's eyes would go far away when she told those tales, like she saw something in the flames. One gray morning in early fall, the sisters woke to the sound of rain tapping on the roof. School was out for the harvest break, so they had the day to themselves. Their mom made oatmeal for breakfast, plain and hot, with a bit of brown sugar if they were good. "Don't go far," she warned as she tied her apron. Dad was already gone to the fields. The girls nodded, but as soon as the door shut, they grabbed their coats and ran out. The woods were thick with oaks and pines, the path muddy from the night's rain. Leaves crunched under their boots. They played a game called Echo, where one shouted and the other had to shout back louder. Lily went first. "Hello?" Rose yelled back, "Hello!" They laughed until their sides hurt. But as they got deeper, the trees seemed to close in. The air grew cooler, heavier, like someone was breathing on their necks. "Let's find the pond," Lily said suddenly. She was the braver one, always pushing for adventure. Rose shook her head. Grandma said no, but Lily pulled her along. "Just a peek. It'll be fun." They pushed through the last tangle of branches, and there it was, the pond. It looked smaller than in the stories, just a puddle of dark water ringed by tall grass. Frogs croaked lazily. A heron stood on one leg, watching them with yellow eyes. The sisters stood at the edge, hearts beating fast. "See?" "Nothing," Lily said. But then Rose pointed. "Look." On the far bank, under the biggest willow, sat an old woman. She was bent over, her back to them, wearing a ragged black dress that blended with the shadows. Her hair was white and tangled like spiderwebs. She didn't move, just sat there, staring at the water. "Who's that?" Rose whispered. "Probably just Mrs. Thorne from the village," Lily said, but her voice wobbled. Mrs. Thorne was the baker's widow, known for her sour face and limp. But this woman seemed wrong, too still, too far from the path. The old woman turned her head slowly. Not all the way, just enough to show a glimpse of her face. It was pale, like milk left out too long, with deep lines carved around her mouth. Her eyes, oh, her eyes, were black holes, empty and hungry. She smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. It stretched too wide, showing teeth that were yellow and sharp. The girls froze. The air went cold, like winter had sneaked in. A whisper came from the water, soft as wind. "Come, play." Lily grabbed Rose's hand. "Run!" They turned and bolted through the woods, branches whipping their faces. They didn't stop until they burst into the yard, gasping. Their coats were torn, cheeks scratched. Inside, they slammed the door and leaned against it, eyes wide. "What was that?" Rose cried. Lily shook her head. "I don't know. But we tell no one." That night, as rain drummed on the roof, the sisters lay in their shared bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was small, with flowered wallpaper peeling at the edges. A single lamp cast long shadows. Rose whispered, "Do you think she's the hag?" Lily pulled the blanket higher. Maybe, but it's over. We won't go back. But sleep didn't come easy. Outside the wind howled, and from far away, very far, came a sound like laughter, wet and bubbling, like someone drowning but happy about it. The next day was drier, the sun peeking through clouds. The girls tried to forget. They helped Mom hang laundry, the sheets flapping like ghosts. Dad came home early with a sack of apples, red and shiny. Dinner was stew, thick with carrots and potatoes. Everyone talked about the harvest fair coming in a week, races, pies, a bonfire. Lily and Rose smiled and nodded, but their eyes met across the table, secret and scared. After supper, they went to the porch to watch fireflies. The yard was quiet, crickets chirping. But then Rose saw it, a shape in the tree line, dark against the dusk. The old woman standing there, head tilted. Watching. She's here. Rose breathed. Lily looked. The figure didn't move, just stared. Then slowly it raised a hand, long fingers like claws, and beckoned. The girls ran inside again, hearts pounding. They barred the door, though it was just a latch. Mom asked what was wrong, but they said nothing. Lies came easy that night. Bad dream. In bed, the whispers started. Not from outside, but inside their heads. Come back. I have a game for you. The voice was sweet like honey, but sticky, trapping. Days passed like that. The sisters stayed close to home, playing in the yard, weeding the garden. The village buzzed with fair preparations, banners strung up, stalls built. But the hag was always there, at the edges. In the morning mist by the barn. At noon, a flicker in the window glass. At night, her shadow under the moon. One evening, Grandma came to visit. She brought cookies, crumbly and warm. As she rocked in the chair, Lily asked, "Grandma, what's the story of the pond again?" The old woman's face tightened. She set her knitting down. "Why do you ask, dears?" "Just curious," Rose said. Grandma sighed. "Long ago, Widow Hargrove lost her twins to the fever. In grief, she walked into the pond. But she didn't die proper. The water kept her, twisted her. Now she's the whispering hag. She shapeshifts into birds, foxes, even people. She hunts for what she lost, little girls, pairs of them. If you hear her call, cover your ears. If you see her smile, run. And never, ever go to the water." The girls nodded, faces pale. That night, the whispers grew louder. "Sisters, mine, come swim." Lily woke first, sweating. "We have to tell someone." Rose nodded. "Dad?" But morning brought no chance. Dad was off early, Mom baking for the fair. The girls slipped out to the general store, bell jingling as they entered. Mr. Hale, the shopkeeper, was behind the counter polishing apples. "What can I get you girls?" Candy," Lily said. But really, they wanted to ask about the hag. As Mr. Hale turned, Rose blurted, "Sir, have you seen the old lady by the pond?" He froze, apple in hand. His face went gray. "What old lady?" "The one with white hair. She smiles funny." Mr. Hale leaned close, voice low. "Listen, children. That's no lady, stay away. Last summer, the Miller boy went missing near there. They found his shoe by the reeds. Never saw him again. The girls bought their candy, sour lemon drops, and ran home, sucking on them to stop the shakes. The fair was close now." Excitement built, but fear gnawed at the sisters. They saw the hag everywhere, as a crow on the fence, cawing, as a stray cat with too many teeth. Once, horribly, as their own reflection in the wash basin, eyes black. On the eve of the fair, the whispers turned to promises. "I'll give you dolls, dresses. But you must come, just once." Lily couldn't take it. "We end this tomorrow. During the fair, when everyone's busy, we go to the pond. We face her. Throw stones, yell, make her go away." Rose whimpered. "No," but Lily was set. "Or she'll never stop." The fair dawned bright, the village alive with music and smells, popcorn, roasted nuts, cotton candy. Booths lined the green, ring toss, pie judging, a carousel with painted horses. Lily and Rose wore their best dresses, blue with white lace. Mom pinned ribbons in their hair. "Have fun, but stay where I can see you." The girls smiled, but their stomachs twisted. They played games, won a stuffed bear at the duck pond, laughed with friends, Tommy and his slingshot, Eliza with her braids. But all the while they watched the woods. Midday, when the crowd was thick, they slipped away. The path to the pond felt longer, darker, even in sunlight. Birds were silent. Leaves didn't rustle. At the edge, the water was still, mirror black. "No hag, see?" Lily said, relief flooding her. She's scared of us. But then the reeds parted. The old woman rose from the water, dripping, dress clinging like skin. Her face was Hargrove's, but warped, cheeks hollow, mouth a gaping slash. "You came," she rasped, voice like gravel. "My sweet ones." The girls backed up. "Go away," Lily shouted, grabbing a stick. The hag laughed, a sound like bones breaking. Her form shimmered, stretched. For a second she was two girls, twins, holding hands. Then back to the crone. "Play with me, forever," Rose screamed. They ran, but the ground sucked at their feet, mud rising like hands. Branches reached down, snagging dresses. The hag's whisper chased them. "Mine, mine." They burst from the woods, collapsing on the fairground grass. People stared, but the girls said nothing, just hugged, sobbing. That night the hag didn't come. The whispers stopped. The fair ended with fireworks, booms lighting the sky. Willowbrook slept easy, but in their bed Lily whispered, "Is it over?" Rose didn't answer. She stared at the window, where a white hand pressed against the glass, fingers long, nails black, before fading into mist. The days after the fair dragged on in Willowbrook, each one blending into the next like watercolors left in the rain. Lily and Rose woke early, as always, to the sound of their mother clattering pots in the kitchen. The air smelled of bacon grease and burnt toast. Their small wooden house creaked under the weight of morning dew, and the windows fogged with condensation. The sisters dressed in plain skirts and sweaters, their blue fair dresses tucked away in a trunk, already feeling like a memory from someone else's life. Outside, the village settled into its usual rhythm. Men trudged to the fields, hoes slung over shoulders. Women hung laundry or swept porches, their voices carrying gossip over picket fences. The general store's bell jingled as kids ran in for penny candy, licorice twists, or peppermint sticks. The church steeple loomed over the square, its shadow stretching long by noon. Everything was the same, yet to the sisters it felt off, like a song played on a piano with one key out of tune. Lily and Rose stuck to their chores to keep busy. They fed the chickens, scratching in the dirt behind the barn. They hauled water from the well, the bucket heavy and sloshing. They weeded the garden, yanking dandelions that seemed to grow back overnight. But every task felt watched. A crow would perch on the fence, head cocked, staring too long. A breeze would carry a faint giggle, like a child's, but twisted. At night their dreams were muddy. Dark water, hands reaching, a voice whispering, "Stay." Stay. They didn't talk about the pond. Not to Mom, who hummed as she kneaded dough, nor to Dad, who came home smelling of earth and sweat. Not even to Grandma, whose knitting needles clicked like a clock counting down. The sisters made a silent pact. Act normal, pretend it never happened. But their eyes darted to the woods when they thought no one was looking. One morning, a week after the fair, they walked to the general store for flour. The path wound past the church where old Mr. Carver was raking leaves. He waved, his smile missing a tooth. "Fine day, girls," he called. They nodded, but Rose clutched Lily's hand. The air felt thick, like it was waiting for something. Inside the store, Mr. Hale was sweeping the floor, dust swirling in slants of sunlight. Shelves were lined with jars of pickles, sacks of rice, and tins of tea. The sisters handed over Mom's list: flour, salt, a bit of sugar. As Mr. Hale weighed the flour, Lily nudged Rose. "Ask him," she whispered. Rose swallowed. "Mr. Hale, about the pond lady. You said the Miller boy vanished. Was there anyone else?" The shopkeeper's broom stopped. He leaned on it, eyes narrowing. "You girls still on about that? Told you, stay clear. Ain't just the Miller boy. 20 years back, the Carter twins, Lila and Mary, went missing too. Sisters like you found their ribbons by the pond, all torn up. Folks said they saw 'em wander in the woods laughing, but it wasn't them. Not anymore." He shook his head. "Hargrove's curse, that's what it is. She don't let go." Lily's mouth went dry. "What does she want?" Mr. Hale leaned closer, his breath sour with coffee. "What she lost, twins, always twins. Don't know why, but that's her way. Now take your flour and go home. Don't poke at shadows." The girls left, clutching the paper sack. The walk back was quiet, their boots scuffing the dirt. Rose kept looking over her shoulder, expecting to see the hag's white hair in the bushes. Lily kicked a pebble. "He's just telling stories. Old people do that." But Rose wasn't so sure. What if it's true? Lila and Mary, the Miller boy. What if she's coming for us? "She's not!" Lily snapped. but her voice shook. She wanted to be brave, but the hag's face, those black eyes, that too wide smile, haunted her. That afternoon, they helped Mom bake bread. The kitchen was warm, flour dusting the table like snow. Mom was cheerful, talking about the new pastor coming next month. But as Lily kneaded dough, she saw something in the window. Just a flash, a pale face gone when she blinked. Her hands froze, dough sticking to her fingers. "You okay, Lily?" Mom asked. "Yeah," she lied, heart thumping. Rose saw it too, her eyes wide across the table. They didn't say it, but they knew. The hag was still there. The next day, they went to school, a one-room building with desks carved by kids long gone. Miss Clara, the teacher, was strict but kind, her glasses always slipping down her nose. The sisters sat in the back, sharing a slate. Lessons were dull, spelling, sums, reading from a tattered book about pilgrims. But today Lily couldn't focus. Her pencil kept scratching shapes in the margins. A pond, a willow, a face with no eyes. During recess, their friend Tommy joined them by the swing. He was 11, skinny, with a slingshot always in his pocket. "You two look weird," he said, chewing a blade of grass. "What's up?" Rose hesitated, then spilled it. "We saw something. By the pond. An old lady." Tommy laughed. "The hag? That's just a story to scare babies. My dad says it's all nonsense. Just swamp gas and shadows." Lily glared. "We saw her." She smiled at us. Tommy shrugged. "Prove it. Go back and take a picture." "I dare you." "No way," Rose said. But Lily's eyes lit up. "Maybe we should. Show everyone she's real. Then they'll do something." Tommy smirked. "You won't. You're scared." The bell rang, ending recess. Back inside, the sisters whispered. Rose hated the idea, but Lily was stubborn. "If we show people, they'll believe us. Maybe burn the pond or something." That night, they lay awake, the house quiet except for Dad's snores. The whispers came again, stronger now. "Come, bring your sister. We'll dance." The voice was sweet like candy, but it made their skin crawl. Rose clutched her pillow. "I don't want to go back." Lily stared at the ceiling. "We have to, or she'll keep coming." The next morning, they told Mom they were going to Eliza's house to play. Instead, they grabbed Dad's old Polaroid camera, heavy and scratched, and headed to the woods. The path was familiar now, the trees less friendly. Every snap of a twig made them jump. The pond was waiting, still as glass, the willows drooping like they were tired. No hag. Just water and silence. Lily lifted the camera, hands shaking. "Maybe she's hiding." She snapped a picture, the flash bright in the dim light. The Polaroid whirred, spitting out a blank square. They waited, watching it develop. Slowly an image formed. Not the pond, but a face. The hag's face, grinning, her eyes black pits. Behind her, two girls, twins, stood holding hands, their faces blank. Rose dropped the photo, screaming. Lily grabbed it, stuffing it in her pocket. "We show this to Mr. Hale. He'll know what to do." They ran home, the photo burning in Lily's pocket. At the store, Mr. Hale took one look and went pale. "Where'd you get this?" "The pond," Lily said. "We took it." He shook his head, shoving it back. "Burn it. Don't go back there, ever." But that night the hag was closer. Her shadow stood in the garden under the apple tree. Her whispers filled the house, mine. My girls, the sisters didn't sleep. They held hands under the blanket, waiting for dawn. Life in Willowbrook trudged on, each day a copy of the last. The sisters, Lily and Rose, woke to the same rooster crow, the same gray light seeping through their bedroom window. Their room was cramped with a single wardrobe and a cracked mirror on the wall. The air smelled of damp wood and the faint lavender of Mom's soap. They dressed in silence, pulling on wool socks and faded dresses, avoiding the mirror. Lately, it felt like their reflections lingered too long, their green eyes not quite their own. Downstairs, Mom was frying eggs, the skillet hissing. Dad sat at the table, sipping coffee from a chipped mug. The kitchen was warm, but the sisters felt cold inside. They ate their eggs with toast, chewing slowly, tasting nothing. The Polaroid from the pond was hidden under their mattress, its image of the hag burned into their minds. They hadn't shown it to Mom or Dad. How could they explain a photo that wasn't what they'd seen? "Help with the dishes," Mom said, tying her scarf to head to the market. The girls nodded, stacking plates in the sink. The water was hot, stinging their hands, but they scrubbed in silence. Outside, the village hummed its usual tune. Dogs barking, a cart rattling down the street. Mrs. Perry next door hanging sheets that flapped in the breeze. But something was off. The chickens in the yard wouldn't cluck, just stood still, staring at the woods. A patch of grass by the barn was blackened, like someone had lit a fire and stamped it out. Lily noticed first. She pointed to the garden, where their carrots and beans grew in neat rows. Rose, look. Among the plants were strange marks, swirls and lines, like someone had dragged a stick in the dirt to make letters. But they weren't letters anyone could read. They curled like worms, unnatural. Rose shivered. Who did that? Lily shook her head. Not who, what. They didn't say her name, but they knew. The hag. Her presence clung to everything now, like damp rot. At night, the whispers were louder, seeping through the walls. My girls, come dance. The words came in their dreams too, where they saw the pond, its water black and thick, hands rising to pull them under. School was no escape. The one-room schoolhouse smelled of chalk and old books. Miss Clara droned on about fractions, her voice a steady hum. Lily and Rose sat at their desk, passing a slate back and forth, pretending to work. But Lily kept sketching the pond, the willows, those strange dirt marks. Rose nudged her. Stop it. Someone will see. During lunch, they sat under the oak tree in the schoolyard, eating sandwiches Mom had packed. Ham and cheese, the bread a little stale. Tommy joined them, his slingshot dangling from his belt. You two are quieter than a graveyard, he said, squinting. Still scared of your pond ghost? It's not a ghost, Lily snapped. It's real. We have proof, Tommy raised an eyebrow. That photo? Bet it's fake. You drew it or something. Rose's cheeks flushed. We didn't. It's her, the hag. Prove it, Tommy said, grinning. Show me. The sisters exchanged a look. They hadn't brought the Polaroid. It felt too dangerous, like carrying a piece of the hag herself. We can't, Lily said. It's at home. Tommy laughed. Sure it is. You're just chicken. Before they could argue, Eliza ran over, her braids bouncing. She was 9, small for her age, with a habit of asking too many questions. What's this about a photo? She asked, plopping down on the grass. Nothing, Rose said quickly, but Eliza's eyes lit up. Is it about the pond? My brother says he saw lights there last week, flickering like fireflies, but blue. Said it gave him the creeps. Lily frowned. Your brother's lying. He's always making stuff up, Eliza shrugged. Maybe, but he won't go near the woods now. Says he heard a lady singing. The sisters froze. The bell rang, calling them back to class, but the words stuck with them. Singing. They hadn't heard singing, only whispers. But it felt like another piece of the hag, creeping closer. That evening, Grandma came over for supper. The table was set with a checkered cloth, a pot of potato soup steaming in the center. Grandma's hands were knotted with age, her shawl smelling of mothballs. She watched the girls closely, her eyes sharp behind her glasses. You're pale, dears, she said, spoon halfway to her mouth. Not eating enough? We're fine, Lily said, stirring her soup. Rose nodded, but her spoon trembled. After supper, they sat by the fire. Dad was out fixing a fence, Mom washing dishes. Grandma pulled out her knitting, the needles clicking like tiny bones. The girls sat on the rug, playing with a deck of cards, but their hearts weren't in it. Grandma, Rose said softly, tell us more about the hag. Why does she want twins? Grandma's needles paused. The fire crackled, throwing shadows on the walls. You're too young for such tales, she said, but her voice was heavy. But since you ask, Widow Hargrove wasn't always bad. She was a mother once, kind as any. Her twins, 2 girls like you, died of fever. The village tried to help, but she wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep. Said the water called her. When she walked into the pond, folks thought she'd drowned. But the preacher back then, old Pastor John, said different. Said the pond wasn't natural. Said it was a door to something old, something that takes and twists. Hargrove didn't die. She changed. Became the hag. And she's been looking for her girls ever since. Lily's throat tightened. Why us? Grandma's eyes flicked to the window, where the night was black. Twins are special. 2 souls tied together. She thinks you're hers. Rose hugged her knees. How do we stop her? Grandma shook her head. Stay away. Keep your hearts strong. She feeds on fear. That night, the sisters checked the Polaroid under their mattress. It was still there, the hag's face clearer now, her grin wider. But something new. The 2 girls in the background. Their dresses were blue, like the ones from the fair. Lily dropped the photo, her hands shaking. "That's us," Rose whimpered. "It can't be. They burned the photo in the fireplace, watching it curl and blacken." But the whispers didn't stop. "You can't run. You're mine." The voice was in their heads, in the creak of the floor, in the wind outside. The next day they found more marks. On the barn door, scratched deep into the wood, those same wormy swirls. In the garden, the carrots were uprooted, lying in a circle. At school, their slate had a drawing they didn't make, a face, eyeless, smiling. Eliza noticed it during class. "Who drew that?" she whispered, pointing. Lily erased it fast. No one. But Eliza kept watching them, curious. After school, she followed them home, skipping to keep up. "You're hiding something," she said. "I want to know." "Go home, Eliza," Rose said, her voice sharp, but Eliza grinned. "I'm going to find out. Bet it's about the pond." That night, the sisters locked their bedroom door. They pushed the wardrobe against it, just in case. The mirror on the wall gleamed in the moonlight. Rose glanced at it and gasped. Her reflection was smiling, but she wasn't. Lily grabbed a blanket and threw it over the mirror, both of them shaking. Outside, the wind carried a new sound. Not whispers, but humming. A lullaby, soft and wrong, like it came from underwater. The days in Willowbrook crawled forward, each one heavy with sameness. Lily and Rose woke to the familiar creak of their bed, the faint smell of mildew in their room. The wallpaper peeled in curls, and the covered mirror stood in the corner like a silent warning. They dressed quickly, pulling on patched sweaters and skirts, their movements mechanical. Breakfast was oatmeal again, lumpy and gray, with a drizzle of molasses. Mom hummed as she stirred the pot, oblivious to the sisters' quiet dread. Dad was already out, his boots leaving muddy prints by the door. The village went about its routine. Smoke curled from chimneys, mixing with the morning fog. Carts rumbled down the main street, carrying pumpkins and hay for the late harvest. Women chatted over fences, their voices low, while kids kicked a ball in the churchyard. But for Lily and Rose, every sound was wrong. A dog's bark too sharp, a bird's chirp too slow. The hag's presence clung to them, like damp clothes that wouldn't dry. They stuck to their chores, hoping work would keep the fear at bay. They swept the porch, the broom scratching against warped wood. They fed the chickens, who pecked at the grain but kept glancing at the woods. In the garden, the strange swirls from before were gone, but new marks had appeared, deep scratches in the dirt, spelling out Lily and Rose in jagged lines. The sisters stared, hearts pounding, then raked the dirt smooth before Mom could see. At home, things were worse. Last night's lullaby still echoed in their heads, soft and sour, like spoiled milk. Objects started to shift when no one looked. A teacup on the kitchen shelf was upside down one morning. Their shoes, neatly paired by the door, were scattered across the hall. Once Lily found her hairbrush on the wrong side of the dresser, bristles wet with something dark and sticky. She wiped it clean and said nothing, but Rose saw her hands shake. They avoided the mirror, still draped with the blanket. But sometimes, late at night, they heard it, a faint tap like fingers on glass coming from beneath the cloth. The whispers were constant now, weaving into their thoughts. "My girls? So close, come to me." Sleep brought no relief. Their dreams were filled with the pond, its water thick as oil, and a figure that was sometimes the hag, sometimes themselves, smiling with too many teeth. One afternoon, they were sent to borrow sugar from Mrs. Perry, the neighbor who lived in a squat stone house across the lane. Her yard was tidy, with rose bushes trimmed to stubs, and a bird bath that never held water. Mrs. Perry was old, her hair a tight gray bun, her eyes always squinting like she was searching for secrets. She invited the girls in, her kitchen smelling of vinegar and boiled cabbage. Sit," she said, pouring tea into cracked cups. The sisters perched on wobbly chairs, clutching the sugar tin. Mrs. Perry watched them, her gaze sharp. "You two look peaky. Been playing in those woods again?" "No, ma'am," Rose said quickly, too quickly. Mrs. Perry's lips thinned. "Don't lie to me, child. I saw you coming back from there last week, all wild-eyed. You've been to the pond, haven't you?" Lily's stomach twisted. We just went once." Mrs. Perry leaned forward, her voice low. "Foolish girls. That pond's no place for children. You know what happened there, don't you? Not just Widow Hargrove. Years ago, before you were born, the village tried to end it. Pastor John and a few others, brave or stupid, I can't say which, went to the pond with salt and holy water. Thought they could cleanse it. They prayed, burned sage, even threw iron nails into the water. But the next day, she paused, her hands gripping the teacup. They found Pastor John's coat by the bank, torn to shreds. He was gone. No body, no trace. And the others wouldn't talk after. Said the water laughed at them. Rose's eyes widened. Laughed? Like a woman, they said, mocking. Mrs. Perry shook her head. The hag's older than the village, older than the trees. She don't let go, and she likes twins best. 2 for 1, she thinks. Lily swallowed. Why didn't they tell everyone? Fear, Mrs. Perry said. The folks wanted to forget, moved on, built new lives, but you can't outrun what's in that water. You girls stay away or you'll be next. They left with the sugar, their legs wobbly. The lane felt darker, the air heavier. At home, they hid in their room, whispering. She knows, Rose said. What if she tells Mom? She won't, Lily said, but she wasn't sure. We need to figure out how to stop her ourselves. That night, they sat with Grandma by the fire. She was knitting a scarf, the wool red as blood. The sisters played checkers, but their moves were slow, distracted. Grandma's needles clicked, steady as a heartbeat. You're quiet tonight, she said, not looking up. Something on your minds? Lily hesitated, then asked, Grandma, did anyone ever try to fight the hag? Like really fight her? Grandma's needles stopped. The fire popped, sending a spark up the chimney. Once, she said softly, long ago. They thought they could trap her, seal the pond. Didn't work. She's not just a ghost, girls. She's part of the water, the earth. You can't fight what's rooted that deep. Rose's voice trembled. Then what do we do? Stay strong, Grandma said. Don't listen to her. She'll try to trick you, make you think she's kind. But she's not. The sisters nodded, but the words felt hollow. That night the whispers turned to pleas. I'm lonely. I need you. Come play. The lullaby was back, louder, curling through the house like smoke. They woke to find their bedroom door ajar, though they'd locked it. The wardrobe was pushed back, just an inch, but enough to notice. In the morning, they checked their room. On the wooden bed frame, scratched deep, were their names. Lily, Rose. The letters were uneven, like a child's writing, but the wood was splintered as if clawed by something sharp. They covered it with a blanket, hearts racing. At school, Eliza was nosier than ever. She cornered them at recess, her braids swinging. You're acting weird again, she said. I heard my mom talking to Mrs. Perry, said you asked about the pond. What's going on? Nothing, Lily snapped, but Eliza's eyes gleamed. I'm gonna go look myself, she said. Tonight. Want to see those lights my brother talked about? Rose grabbed her arm. Don't. It's dangerous. Eliza pulled free, grinning. You're scaredy cats. I'm not. The sisters watched her skip away, dread pooling in their stomachs. They didn't tell Miss Clara or anyone else. What could they say? That the hag was real? That she was coming for them, and maybe Eliza too? That evening, as the sun sank, they saw Eliza heading toward the woods, a flashlight in her hand. They called after her, but she didn't turn back. The village was quiet, the air thick with fog. The sisters stood on their porch, holding hands, listening for the lullaby. It came soft and wet from the direction of the pond. Willowbrook woke to another gray morning, the sky heavy with clouds that promised rain. Lily and Rose dragged themselves out of bed, the floorboards cold under their feet. Their room felt smaller, the air thick with the smell of dust and something sour like old milk. They dressed in silence, pulling on the same worn dresses, their hands moving like they were half asleep. The blanket over the mirror sagged, one corner slipping to show a sliver of glass. Neither sister fixed it. Downstairs, Mom was scrubbing pots, her apron splattered with grease. Dad was gone to the fields, his coffee mug still warm on the table. The sisters ate their breakfast, cold porridge with a sprinkle of sugar, without speaking. The scratches on their bed frame, Lily and Rose, were hidden under the blanket, but they felt them like a weight. The hag's lullaby lingered in their minds, its tune twisting their thoughts. Had they really seen Eliza heading to the woods last night? Or was it a dream, slippery and false, planted by the whispers? The village plodded along. Crows cawed from the church steeple, their calls sharp in the damp air. Women swept their porches, men hauled wood, and kids ran to school with lunch pails swinging. Lily and Rose walked the familiar path, their boots sinking into mud. The trees along the lane seemed to lean closer, their branches like fingers brushing the sisters' hair. Every shadow felt alive, every rustle a step behind them. At school, the one-room building was stuffy. the chalkboard smudged with yesterday's lessons. Miss Clara read from a history book, her voice droning about settlers and crops. Lily and Rose shared a desk, their slate untouched. Lily's pencil hovered, sketching nothing. Rose stared out the window, where the woods loomed dark against the gray sky. They were waiting for Eliza, dreading her. When recess came, she was there, sitting on the swing, her braids still neat but her smile wrong, too wide, too still. "Hey," she said, her voice bright but flat like a bell with no echo. "Miss me?" Rose's stomach churned. "Where'd you go last night?" Eliza tilted her head, her eyes catching the light oddly, like a cat's. "Nowhere special. Just walking. Saw some lights by the pond. Pretty." She giggled, but it sounded forced, like she was copying someone else's laugh. Lily frowned. "You said you checked the pond. Did you see her?" Eliza's smile didn't waver. "Who? Nobody's there. Just water and frogs." She hopped off the swing and skipped away, humming a tune, the hag's lullaby, soft and wet. The sisters exchanged a look. "That's not Eliza," Rose whispered. Lily nodded, her throat tight. "Or it is, but she's different." They didn't talk to her for the rest of the day. At lunch, they sat alone under the oak tree, eating apples from home, the fruit tart and hard. Tommy passed by, his slingshot tucked in his belt. "You two look like you saw a ghost," he said, smirking. "Leave us alone," Lily snapped. Tommy shrugged and wandered off, but his words stuck. A ghost, was that what the hag was? Or was she something worse? Something that could slip into people, change them. After school, they went to the church, hoping for answers. The building was old, its stone walls mossy, the steeple leaning slightly. Inside, it smelled of wax and damp hymnals. The new pastor wasn't there yet, so the place was empty, the pews dusty. The sisters crept to the back, where a small room held records. Births, deaths, marriages, written in faded ink. They'd heard Dad talk about it once, how the church kept the village's history. Lily pulled a heavy book from a shelf, its cover cracked leather. Rose held a candle, its flame flickering. They flipped through pages, the paper brittle, until they found entries from decades ago. One caught their eye. Hargrove, Anna, widow. Twins, Sarah and Jane, deceased, fever, 1892. Mother lost to the pond, presumed drowned. Below it, in different handwriting, pond cursed. Pastor John's right failed, 1893. Do not disturb. Rose's voice shook. What's the right? Lily kept reading, her finger tracing the words. Another page mentioned Pastor John's attempt. Salt, sage, iron, prayer. The water resisted. John lost. Pond sealed, but not cleansed. There was a drawing, too, a rough sketch of the pond, with symbols like the swirls they'd seen in the dirt circling the water. They tried to trap her, Lily said. And it didn't work. Rose hugged herself. What if she's stronger now? Because of us? They closed the book, hearts pounding, and left the church. The village was quiet, the sun sinking behind the woods. At home, they helped Mom with supper, potatoes and cabbage, boiled and bland. Dad was late, his face tired when he came in. Fence broke again, he muttered. No one mentioned the pond. That night, the sisters sat by the fire with Grandma, who was knitting a blanket now, the wool gray as fog. The needles clicked, steady, but her eyes kept flicking to the girls. You've been to the church, she said, not a question. Lily froze. How'd you know? Grandma's lips pressed thin. I know that look. You're digging where you shouldn't. The pond's not just a story, girls. It's a wound in the earth. Pastor John thought he could heal it, but he paid the price. Don't follow his path. Rose's eyes filled with tears. But she's after us. We can't just wait. Grandma set her knitting down. Then pray. And don't go near the water. She'll use your fear, twist it, make you see things that aren't real. The sisters nodded, but the words felt hollow. That night the whispers were sharper, cutting through their dreams. You're mine. Always mine. They woke gasping, their room wrong. The blanket over the mirror was on the floor. The wardrobe was open, just a crack, showing their fair dresses, blue with white lace, hanging inside, swaying like someone had touched them. In the morning, they found more signs. Their school books, stacked neatly last night, were open on the floor, pages torn to show only the word sisters. The kitchen table had scratches, not deep, but forming the hag's swirls. Mom didn't notice, humming as she fried bacon. Dad was gone again, the fields calling. At school, Eliza was there, but stranger. She sat alone, staring at the wall, humming that lullaby. When Lily dropped her pencil, Eliza picked it up, her fingers cold as pond water. "Careful," she said, her smile too sharp. "You'll lose more than that." The sisters ran home after school, avoiding Eliza's gaze. They checked their room. On the wall behind the bed was a new mark, a handprint, small, like a child's, but with too many fingers. They covered it with a pillow, their breaths short. That evening, as rain tapped the roof, they heard the lullaby again, louder, coming from the yard. They peeked through the window. Eliza stood by the barn, her flashlight off, her face pale in the moonlight. She was smiling, humming, her eyes black as the pond. The rain never stopped in Willowbrook, a steady drizzle that turned the village into a blur of gray and green. Lily and Rose woke to the same cold room, the same peeling wallpaper, the same sour smell that clung to the air. Their bed creaked as they sat up, their eyes heavy from sleepless nights. The handprint on the wall, hidden behind a pillow, seemed to pulse in their minds. The hag's lullaby was a constant hum now, weaving through their thoughts, soft and sticky like spider silk. They dressed in silence, pulling on damp socks and faded dresses, their hands trembling. Downstairs, Mom was kneading dough, flour, dusting her hands. Dad's chair was empty, his coat gone. He'd left for the fields before dawn. The sisters ate their breakfast, dry toast and watery tea without tasting it. The scratches on the kitchen table, those wormy swirls, were deeper now, but Mom didn't notice, humming her usual tune. The village outside was the same, carts creaking, dogs yapping, the church bell tolling 9. But to the sisters, it felt like a trap closing, the hag's presence in every shadow, every sound. They couldn't wait anymore. The whispers, "My girls, come home," were louder, pulling at them like a tide. Eliza's strange smile at school, her cold fingers, her black eyes humming that lullaby, made it clear the hag was closing in. They had to act, or they'd lose themselves, and maybe Eliza too. At school, the day dragged. Miss Clara's voice was a dull buzz, reading poetry about rivers and skies. Lily and Rose sat at their desk, passing a slate, but their minds were on the church records. The words burned in their memory: salt, sage, iron, prayer. The water resisted. They whispered during recess, hidden behind the oak tree, while Eliza swung nearby, her humming unbroken, her eyes glinting like wet stones. "We need to try the right," Lily said, her voice low. "Like Pastor John." Rose shook her head, her braid fraying. "It didn't work for him. He disappeared. We're different," Lily said. "We're twins. She wants us. Maybe that's the key." Rose's eyes were wet, but she nodded. "What do we need?" "Salt from the kitchen, sage from Mrs. Perry's garden, iron, something from Dad's tools, and the prayer, we'll find it in the church." They skipped lunch, sneaking to the church instead. The stone building was quiet, the air inside thick with dust and candle wax. They crept to the record room, the leather book still on the shelf. Flipping through, they found more. A note about a blessed iron cross buried near the pond after Pastor John's rite failed. It was meant to hold the hag, but the water rejected it. "Find the cross," Lily whispered. "It's our chance." They left school early, claiming stomach aches. Miss Clara let them go, her glasses fogged with worry. At home, they stole a jar of salt from the pantry and snipped sage from Mrs. Perry's garden, her curtains twitching as they ran off. In the barn, they found an old iron nail, rusty but heavy, in Dad's toolbox. The prayer was harder. They didn't know the words, so Lily wrote a simple one on a scrap of paper. "God keep us safe." "Send her away." As dusk fell, the village settled into its evening rhythm. Lanterns glowed in windows, smoke rose from chimneys, and the smell of boiled cabbage drifted from houses. The sisters told Mom they were visiting Grandma, but instead they headed to the woods, the salt jar, sage, and nail tucked in a sack. The path was muddy, the trees silent, their branches drooping like mourners. The pond waited, its water black and still, reflecting no stars. They stood at the edge, hearts pounding. The air was cold, the hag's lullaby loud now, coming from the water itself. "Come, my sweet ones." Rose clutched Lily's hand, her nails digging in. "I'm scared." "Me too," Lily said. "But we end this now." They started the rite, copying what they'd read. Lily sprinkled salt in a circle around them, the grains sinking into the mud. Rose lit the sage with a match, its smoke sharp and bitter, curling upward. They held the iron nail together, its weight grounding them. Lily read the prayer, her voice shaking. God, keep us safe. Send her away. Nothing happened. The pond stayed still, the willows unmoving. Then Rose pointed. There. A glint in the mud, half buried. A small iron cross, its edges worn but etched with faint symbols. They dug it out, hands slick with dirt, and held it tight. Throw it in, Lily said. Like Pastor John, they tossed the cross into the pond. It sank with a soft plop, ripples spreading. For a moment, silence. Then the water churned, bubbling like it was boiling. A laugh rose, not human, but deep and wet, echoing through the trees. The hag emerged, not from the water, but from the air itself, her form shimmering. Old woman, then young, then two girls with their faces, blue dresses torn. Her eyes were black pits, her smile a slash of teeth. You can't send me away, she rasped. You're mine, Rose screamed, dropping the sage. Lily swung the nail, but the hag's form dissolved, reappearing closer, her breath cold as frost. Join me, she whispered, her voice in their heads. We'll be together. Forever, the sisters ran, tripping over roots, the sack abandoned. The woods seemed to twist, the path gone. The hag's laughter chased them, her lullaby deafening. They burst into the village, collapsing on their porch, gasping. The night was quiet again, the pond's song gone. The next day, Willowbrook was unchanged. The rooster crowed, Mom fried eggs, Dad fixed fences. The sisters went to school, their steps slow, their eyes hollow. Eliza was there, smiling her normal smile, no trace of the lullaby. You okay? She asked, her voice warm like the old Eliza. But her fingers, when she brushed Rose's arm, were still cold. They never found the iron cross. The pond was still, the sage and salt gone, washed away by rain. The whispers stopped, but the sisters felt them, waiting, deep in their bones. At night, they locked their door, checked the mirror, held hands under the blanket. The village moved on, its routine unbroken, chores, school, suppers of cabbage and bread. But sometimes, in the dark, they saw her in their dreams, the hag, standing by the pond holding two blue dresses, smiling. And sometimes, in the mirror's reflection, their own faces smiled back, too wide, too wrong.